thinking about moving to the North Atlanta suburbs? Well, you've come to the right place. Today, we are counting down the top 10 hottest neighborhoods for 2025. These neighborhoods are booming with new development. They have great schools and an unbeatable quality of life. Stick around to number 1 because it is growing faster than ever. Hey, I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Allison, and we are local realtors and moms living in the Atlanta area. We make videos like this every week showing you what it's like to live in and around Atlanta. So if that sounds good, give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Let's jump in.
All right, and before we do jump in, I want you all to understand where we got these ratings.
Yeah.
So we really looked at the total overall growth of these different areas, along with how fast these houses are going under contract.
That's right.
And really all of these areas are going under contract within 1 or 2 weeks. So we really focused on the overall growth. And so we're going to be taking you from number 10 down to number 1. So let's start with Cumming. Cumming is about 40 miles outside of the city. It's in Forsyth County. And Cumming's really known for its spacious homes and its proximity to Lake Lanier and its really great schools. And when we're looking at median home values in Cumming, we've got like the overall of all the homes put together sitting at right about $600,000. We've got townhomes that are coming in at about $480,000. We've got single family homes where the median sales price is $630,000. So home prices in Cumming have really grown steadily over the past 3 years. They did see a kind of a dip from September of 2022 to September of 2023, but a lot of areas did. And since 2024, Cumming has really taken off. Single family homes have seen growth in the 5% range, and overall, the whole community is growing at about 5.3%. Townhomes are coming in a little bit hotter at like 6% growth. And that could be just because there's a lot of new townhome builds in this area in and around the community center. So Cumming has become a real hot spot for families over the years because of its great schools. They're highly rated. They're usually rated 8 and above on greatschools.com. There's modern conveniences, and we mentioned the proximity to the lake. So you also have the lake life with these modern conveniences. And these conveniences really just came about recently with the development of Cumming's new city center, which established businesses, a nightlife, different restaurants to go to. There's walking paths and just entertainment to bring the community together.
Yeah, I think what a lot of people didn't like about Cumming so much was the fact that it was so far out and you just really didn't have a whole lot of benefits other than cost of living, of course, because prices were lower, but there just wasn't a lot to do. So that's, like Jen said, that's really changed.
Yeah, in fact, Cumming in Forsyth County actually is building a new area that's going to pull in a national hockey league. So that's going to really boost Cumming's overall, I think, demand to live there and quality of life. This whole community center that's bringing in this hockey team is going to add even more restaurants, even more nightlife, and more things to do. Okay, so we also have to talk about the downside of living in Cumming, and some of that is the proximity to Atlanta. Obviously, we just mentioned it's about 40 miles out, so the commute into the city is going to take longer. However, Georgia 400 does have plans to create some HOV lanes that will hopefully ease some of that traffic because we need that badly.
Yes, we do.
And then the obvious is the name Cumming, and I'm just going to leave that sit right there.
I think it's important.
Let's move on to number 9.
Number 9 on the list, Peachtree Corners. Peachtree Corners really has that suburban feel to it, but it's got a nice blend with that modern tech industry that's really kind of shapes the overall feel of the city. This, of course, makes it a hot spot for both professionals and for families. Peachtree Corners is located in Gwinnett County. It's about 25 miles north of the city, and it has easy access in and out with using I-85. The home prices in Peachtree Corners are going to run you about $559,000, which is the median sales price for homes, $449,000 for a townhome, and $672,000 for a single family. Like other cities we're going to be talking about, growth in Peachtree Corners is right around 5%. So a little bit more for the single families and a little bit less, I think, for townhomes and condos. So as I mentioned earlier, Peachtree Corners has this real focus on technology. So they've really created this sort of smart city, and you can see that blending into the technology park and some of the companies that have come into Peachtree Corners. Peachtree Corners is also known for its schools. It has a few great public schools, charter schools, and private schools. So I have to mention that in Peachtree Corners, which is in Gwinnett County, you have access to the #1 charter school in the state of Georgia, which is the Gwinnett Math, Science, and Technology Charter School. And really this is a lottery system, but as long as you live in Gwinnett County, you can go ahead and put in your bid to see if you get into the school. There's also Simpson Elementary, which is highly rated public school, and there is the Christian private school, Wesleyan Academy. Now, in Peachtree Corners, you're also going to have great access to entertainment, activities with the family at parks, great accessibility, and of course the town center. Now, this is the focal point of Peachtree Corners, and it really has, again, the walkability, the restaurants, some retail, and access to all things Peachtree Corners. So again, the location of Peachtree Corners, a lot of people like it because you get that sort of suburban in-town feel, a nice blend of that. And there's also great amenities. Now listen, the downside, I think, of Peachtree Corners, which you're going to hear this a lot throughout this video, is just that it's growing. Home prices are going up. Traffic is not great. And there isn't a lot of public transportation, which I think some people would hope for, being a little bit closer to the city. Number 8 on the list is Alpharetta. If you've been following our channel, you know we love Alpharetta. We've made a ton of videos about it. So if that's a city you're considering, go ahead and check back on our channel for more information. Alpharetta is really popular because it pretty much has something for everybody. It's got great shopping, great restaurants, excellent schools, access to nature. We have the Big Creek Greenway. We have the Alpha Loop, which are 2 loops that go around the city that really give residents access to all the main points of Alpharetta. Alpharetta also has a really great downtown. There's a big open green space with a fountain, so you're often going to see families just kind of hanging out during the day with their little ones. Very dog friendly. There are shows and entertainment and farmers markets that happen downtown, and of course, excellent restaurants. Alpharetta is located 25 miles north of Atlanta. It's a pretty easy commute into the city when you jump on the Georgia 400. The median home price in Alpharetta is going to run you somewhere around $700,000, with the single families just over $700,000 median sales price, and the townhomes coming in around $600,000.
So as you can see, we're starting to get into kind of some higher home prices in some of these more popular areas.
That's right, Jen. And we've really seen prices skyrocket, especially if you look back to 2020 to 2025, where we're at now. The prices have gone up dramatically. Year over year, you're looking at about a 7% increase year over year to sales prices. And of course, that's a little more for single families and a little bit less for townhomes, which is, pretty common. Now, you are going to see, if you're in and around Alpharetta, there's been a lot of townhomes coming up. And this has actually sort of been a part of why the price increase is just at that 7%, because we have had a dip in prices with townhomes. And this is because they're new construction, a lot of them. And I still feel like there's more of a demand in Alpharetta for single families. So you're still going to have very high competition for single families, and maybe have some leverage if you're okay with a townhome.
Yeah, and I think in Alpharetta, the townhomes are getting pretty pricey. The average is still low, but there's so many up there that are at $1 million. And I think that the sales on those have slowed down just a little bit.
That's right. And if you're thinking about making an investment in the Atlanta area, I would say Alpharetta should be at the top of your list, because while you're going to be paying, a premium to get a townhome or a single family, the rental prices are some of the highest in the North Atlanta suburbs, so you get a pretty good return. Alpharetta is also known as the technology city of the South, and that's just because we have so many tech companies and startup companies, and it's been great for a lot of these tech professionals to get all those modern city conveniences, but still be in the suburbs with great schools. Now, when we're talking about downsides, I kind of struggle with this a little bit because I love Alpharetta. I think the home prices and the demand are probably the biggest cons of living in Alpharetta. Would you agree, Jen?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's hard to find anything not to like about Alpharetta.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
Okay, so that brings us to number 7, which is Roswell. Roswell is known for its beautiful park system, its historic downtown area, and really good schools. Roswell is just a little bit further south from Alpharetta, so you're looking about 20 miles into the city. Again, straight shot down Georgia 400, so it makes it for an easy commute if you're going at the right times. We're looking at median home values of Alpharetta just above $600,000. Townhomes are a little bit less, obviously, and single family homes are just over $700,000. And like many of these areas we're talking about, Roswell has seen steady growth over the past few years. We're looking at just year over year, February, overall growth in Roswell has been right at about 6%. And interestingly enough, because this was not the case in Alpharetta, Roswell has seen townhome values increase by 10% and single family homes increasing at 6%. So the demand there in Roswell for townhomes is, I think, greater than Alpharetta. And I think it's because the home prices for townhomes in Roswell are a little bit less expensive and create some affordability in the Roswell area. So the big draw for Roswell is really, I think, nature. There's such a robust robust trail system. You have the Chattahoochee River that runs right through Roswell, so water enthusiasts can put a kayak on there and shoot the hooch, if you will. The trail system has room for bikers, walkers, strollers, anything that you want to do to be outside is what Roswell offers. Its downtown area has always had a pretty robust nightlife. There are all sorts of wonderful restaurants. They are not chains for the most part, so you're really enjoying local businesses. And I think that is what brings together the community feel of Roswell.
For sure.
And they also offer festivals, and the local businesses come out and support these festivals and sponsor them, and brings everybody out into the community. And not just Canton Street, which is the historic district of Roswell, but also at its city government center. They do music on the lawn during the summer and activities like that that increase resident turnout.
Yeah, so I think if you're a young professional, if you're a first-time home buyer, this is a great place to live because you still have a ton to do, both, nightlife, parks and rec, and if there's children in the future, the schools are really great.
So I guess if we're going to talk about downsides of Roswell, I think we're looking at not necessarily safety issues, but there are pockets of Roswell that are going to be better than others. And in some of these other suburbs in North Atlanta area, we don't see that quite as much. So you do want to pay attention to where you are going to be living in Roswell. Okay, so that brings us to number 6, which is Suwanee. And Suwanee is located probably the furthest north of any of the suburbs we're talking about today. But Suwanee has also been ranked in Fortune magazine, niche.com as one of the best places to raise a family. So it is because of the school systems there, second to none, and also the tight-knit community I think that Suwanee brings as well, now that it has a city center and community area to bring people together. So Suwanee is located about 40-ish miles, maybe a little bit further out from the city of Atlanta. It's a straight shot down 85, so it's a little bit further east than, say, like Roswell and Alpharetta that we talk about a lot. It's more on the side of Johns Creek and Duluth. And so getting into the city down 85 can be cumbersome, but that is going to be a pretty straight shot. The median sales price for Suwanee over the past year, and this is year over year, February, is going to be in the 600s overall. Townhomes are a little bit less, and single family homes are in the 600s as well. So you can see that the prices are increasing in Suwanee as compared to some of the other areas that you can get into. And I think that has to do a lot with the new construction that's available there. So overall growth in Suwanee has been over 6% for this past year. And again, very consistent growth over the past 3 to 5 years. Townhomes haven't grown quite as readily in Suwanee. Single family homes are holding their own, again, in the 6% range for increased value.
Yeah, when you compare it to places like Alpharetta, a lot of that is just that there's not a lot of townhomes being built in this area. So the ones that are there are going to be a little bit older, maybe less demand.
Okay, so Suwanee, what do people love about it? And I think the biggest draw in Suwanee is really the families. Like I mentioned, it ranks high on Fortune magazine's top places for families to live. And part of that is also having to do with safety. It also ranks in some of these categories as the safest place to live in the Atlanta area and really nationally as well. So I think the biggest draw for Suwanee is that you do have your restaurants and your walkability and your shopping. That's all relatively new. And so I think when people move to Suwanee, they're really looking for that community and that safety and that family environment. So I think when we look at the downsides to Suwanee, if you are looking for great schools, you have that. If you're looking for a private school type environment, there's not really a lot of private school options in Suwanee. The homes in Suwanee are in high demand. As we see the prices increase, you can see the demand go up as well. So in addition to this demand, if you're looking for new construction, it's a good possibility that you're going to end up on a waiting list.
Number 5 on our list is Woodstock. Woodstock has really grown in popularity over the years, and I think that has to do with the thriving downtown and the great community. Also, prices are more affordable there, and we've done other videos on Woodstock as well because we absolutely love it. So Woodstock is located about 30 miles north of Atlanta and has access into the city through I-75. The median home sales price in Woodstock is $480,000, which is quite affordable and one of the few places that you can really move in North Atlanta in that price point. The median sales price for a single family home is going to be a little bit more than that, around $490,000. Of course, depending on when you're looking at these numbers, you're probably going to be a little bit over $5,000. And then for townhomes, you're going to be more in that $480,000 price point.
Yeah, I mean, that affordability alone is a huge draw, especially I think for first time.
That's right. And Woodstock really has a lot lot to offer. A lot of things that are kind of similar to some of these other areas that we're talking about. So Woodstock has an amazing park system. You have access to Lake Altoona. So again, kind of if you want a little bit of that lake life, it's also very close to Red Top Mountain. So there's great trails for hiking, jogging. You also have, as I mentioned earlier, a very cool downtown. So you have breweries, you have boutique shopping, you have restaurants, you have an actual nightlife, which again really separates it, I think, from Alpharetta and Johns Creek, which have a little bit less than that. Kind of has a little bit more of the Roswell downtown feel to it. So when you're in Woodstock, in some parts of Woodstock, you're going to feel like it's very quiet and suburban, which a lot of people really like. And again, if you want a little bit more of that fun walkability, you're going to want to look at homes a little bit closer to the downtown area. Now, you can really see the demand in this area because prices are going up. Right now, year over year, prices have gone up about 7%. So we're looking at similar increases that we are looking at in some of these other cities like Alpharetta. And of course, a little bit more for single families and less for attached townhomes. Woodstock schools are also pretty good, and we've seen them really get a lot better over the years. So right now, you'll find a lot of the schools in Woodstock, if you go on greatschools.org, are going to be around that 8 rating. There's River Ridge High School, which is one of the more popular ones. So really, Woodstock has it all. You know, I would want to just make sure the location works for you in terms of your commute, but there's a lot of things to do and a really fun place to live in Woodstock. Next up on the list, number 4 is Duluth. You may not have heard of Duluth, maybe not as well known as some of these other areas that we've talked about. Duluth is popular because of its affordability, diversity, and strong local economy. It's located 27 miles northeast of Atlanta. It's in Gwinnett County, and it's right next to Johns Creek. So some of the schools kind of bleed into each other. So the median sales price in Duluth is $550,000. Now that said, if it's the part of Duluth that's kind of within the border of Johns Creek, you're going to pay a lot higher. However, still very affordable overall. Yeah, but going back again, Duluth is quite diverse. They have a lot of ethnic restaurants and grocery stores. There is a very cute revitalized downtown, which is a nice community hub, great place to go out and walk around. And there's actually a really great job market in Duluth too. Duluth has really a thriving local economy. As I mentioned earlier, there's a mix of great businesses there. The financial services, Prime America is actually headquartered there. And also AGCO Corporation, which they manufacture farming equipment, they are also headquartered in Duluth. The downside of Duluth is that, as Jen mentioned, some parts are less desirable than others, and also the traffic. Not the best options for commuting, so sometimes within Duluth, it gets very, very congested, so be aware of that.
Okay, so that brings us to number 3, which is Johns Creek, and we do a lot of videos on Johns Creek as well. It's one of our favorites. Johns Creek is located just up Georgia 400, about 30 miles from the city. We're looking at median home values at over $800,000. So this is one of the most expensive places to live that we talk about today. And I think that looking at Johns Creek, you're going to kind of see why. So Johns Creek has seen steady growth over the past few years, but I think that we would be doing a disservice if we didn't mention that it did take a little dip in September of 2023. So if you did buy a home there, you really lucked out because the growth since then has just skyrocketed. So despite, the minor dips that Johns Creek has seen a couple times over the past couple of years, we're looking at 10% growth year over year February. It's huge. It's one of the biggest areas and why it's number 3. Townhomes have also seen growth and single family, again, up in the 10% range for growth. So I think Johns Creek has become so popular for its schools. The schools are phenomenal. You're looking at 9s and 10s on greatschools.org. They have a beautiful park system and it's a big draw for families. And I think in terms of its ratings on safety. Diversity plays a big part of Johns Creek as well. And a lot of the neighborhoods are kind of the old traditional swim tennis neighborhoods. Golf is huge in Johns Creek. So if you're a golfer, you want to take a look. Some of those most notable neighborhoods are the Standard Club and the Country Club of the South. They are gated communities with beautiful golf courses and beautiful homes.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons that we've seen the demand go up for Johns Creek is because they are really leaping forward into the future, unlike some of the other suburbs, where they are building this, revitalizing really this whole downtown area. It's called Medley, and they're going to be putting in restaurants, shops, live, work, play sort of environment. These mixed-use communities that we've really seen pop up in places like Alpharetta are very popular and have been a big draw. The other thing too is, again, similar to what we have in Alpharetta, there are a lot of technology jobs. There's a technology park, which is going to be right in that downtown area. So it's already such a great place to live, and there's so much more on the horizon.
Yeah. In fact, fact, the technology, Georgia Tech, I think, uses Johns Creek as a hub for creating some of its, outstanding and forward-thinking technology. Some of the downsides to Johns Creek is the limited nightlife, which Alison just talked about. They are addressing that. And I think as the city grows and their downtown community grows, you're going to see a lot more of that come in. This is a linear park with pedestrian pathway systems. There's going to be a lakefront amphitheater that's going to bring in tons of great music and just an overall feel that Johns Creek has been missing. So although those are some downsides now, it's all coming, and I think the growth is going to just blow up in Johns Creek. Okay, so that brings us to number 2, which is Sandy Springs. Sandy Springs is located just about 12 miles outside of downtown Atlanta.
Yeah.
It sits on the perimeter of Atlanta, which is 285. So part of Sandy Springs is inside the perimeter and part of Sandy Springs is outside of the perimeter. And I think that Sandy Springs, the big draw to Sandy Springs is that you truly have that urban lifestyle, but still a little bit of a suburban feel. And I think that people really like that if they want to maintain the proximity to the city and to the airport. Median home prices overall in Sandy Springs are at $685, and single family homes are above $900,000. So it is a little bit pricier of an area. And again, I think that is because you are close to Atlanta and it is the convenience that you're really paying for in Sandy Springs. Like Johns Creek, Sandy Springs saw a little bit of a dip in September of 2023, but continues to skyrocket, and it's why it's number 2 on our list. Sandy Springs year over year, February saw 14.2% growth overall. That is huge.
Yes, blown away by that.
So I think another reason why people are kind of loving the Sandy Springs area is that it has this really developing performing arts and kind of cultural vibe going along with it. They've created in the City Springs, which is what they call their downtown area, a performing arts center. There are different museums and things that you can do as far as the arts community is concerned in Sandy Springs. And then also the parks are amazing in Sandy Springs. Mm-hmm. They have the Abernathy Trail and they have Morgan Falls Park, which are 2 of the popular ones in Sandy Springs, and they bring the community together as well. Sandy Springs is also located really close to some of the top private schools in the city. So if that's a big draw for you, it's a great place to live. And on the flip side, the public schools are really not too bad. They don't rank quite as high as some of the schools in the other North Atlanta suburbs, but they are still good alternatives. So what are some of the downsides to Sandy Springs? I think the obvious ones are the traffic. The further into the city, the worse the traffic gets, and Sandy Springs is no different. I think also going along with that is a little bit of the safety things. Closer into the city, there can be a little bit higher crime rates. Sandy Springs has some areas where you'll see some of that, but overall, it's a great place to live and the values are skyrocketing.
Which brings us to the number 1 hottest suburb of Atlanta, which is Milton. Milton is known for its luxury properties, its equestrian properties, and top schools. Milton is located 30 miles north of the city in Fulton County, borders Alpharetta. The median sales price in Milton is almost $1.3 million, guys. So it is more expensive. And if you drive around Milton, you'll see why. You can get into a townhome for, just under $600,000. And there are some older neighborhoods where you can get into a single family home and more of that traditional subdivision. But mostly what you're going to see in Milton are large, luxurious lots with large estate feeling type homes. Really quite beautiful. I think if you are someone who is looking for luxury, who is looking for a bit of peace and quiet, but you still want to have access to the city, although it's not super close, there is still pretty convenient access. Milton also has a little downtown area. It's a little sleepy, but there is some shopping and some restaurants. And of course, you're close to Alpharetta. So if you want something a little bit more on a bigger scale, you have access to that as well.
Yeah, and I think Milton is really trying to keep the theme of, being developed from these old horse parks. They're trying to keep the nature involved. Yeah. So they are proactively keeping parks and trails and things like that available to its residents.
So Milton has had some volatility over the last 3 years, but it's really like what was once known as this sleepy horse farm town has really started to attract some of the wealthiest people people into the Atlanta area, building, again, these luxury homes on large estates, offering something that's a lot different from really anywhere else in the North Atlanta suburbs.
Yeah, in fact, Milton is seeing 15.4% growth, which is a big reason why it's number one on our list.
That's right. Also, what people love about Milton are the great schools, just like a lot of the other communities we talked about. There is the public high school, Milton High School, access to great private schools, and this is a huge draw for families. So again, those families that are looking for the access to great schools, but want a little bit more of a quiet place, Milton is a great option. So potential downsides to Milton, maybe you don't want the quiet lifestyle. Maybe you want a little bit quicker access to shopping and restaurants. That would be one downside. And the other one, similar to Sandy Springs, is just that it's really expensive. It's pretty far out of the budget for a fair amount of buyers. So really just depends on what you're looking for and how much you can afford. So if you are considering a move to North Atlanta, reach out to Jen and I. We would love to help you explore. Our phone number's on the screen. Feel free to call or text us. You will get us on the phone and we'd love to help you.
So we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment in and let us know which of these cities stands out, which one sounds most interesting. And we'll see you next week.